right, so we're gonna start with universal settings, so gear bar 2 and stopper 2, and start with 2 red springs, just heavy springs so the carriage doesn't move very much. And we're gonna take the platform and put it over the springs. Put it, instead of it against the wood, put it towards the carriage side. And we're gonna sit straddling the reformer. The platform's there just so you can decide how far forward or back you want to be. We're going to work on some extension today, as well as some different leg exercises. So let's reach the arms forward, round the pelvis under, roll back until mid-back hits the bar, and then extend over the bar, circle your arms around, and roll back up. If your feet are really floating off the floor because of leg length, then put something under your feet. If you're on the lower reformer, your legs will just be more bent. So keep moving. Find some interesting places to extend over the bar. And like your half roll back, rounding back, lean in and circle around. Somewhere around the bra strap areas where you're kind of hitting the bar. If it's uncomfortable in any way, of course, you could wrap your Pilates mat around it. And as I'm going through this, I'm trying to sort of go from one vertebrae and one set of ribs to the next, so that each time I'm kind of opening up a different place. And then if you want it to be a little bit more work, bring your hands behind your head, use your abdominals a little bit more. Open the elbows. You can let the pelvis lift, set the hips back down, and then come back up, sit up tall. And just twice more, rounding back. You can allow the pelvis to lift a little if that feels good to you. And coming back up. And one more time, rounding back, opening through your lower back. Lean your back into the bar. Bring your feet up onto the carriage. If the carriage is moving a lot, then you might want to add some more springs. And then go over into extension. Take one arm and release one arm. And just take a couple pulses. So you're trying to pulse further open. It's not coming from the neck. It's more coming from the distance between the ribs and the pelvis. They're going back and over, back and over. Switch which hand is under your head and extend back. And extending little pulses, however it feels good to you. And then circle the arms around or bring the hands behind the head to come back up. Good. So then you can put the platform down on the floor so it's out of your way, and switch to a half spring. Now start looking at some psoas movements. So bringing your knees up against the shoulder rest, I'd say anywhere between a half and one spring. Long through the spine, round your back up. Make sure you've shifted your weight forward so your knees are not directly underneath your hips. And then flex at the hip joint, rounding the lower back up towards the ceiling. Yeah, exactly. Half spring might be a little light since we've all gotten stronger the last few months. Pushing the knees forward, trying to think about returning the carriage. So it's not just about getting the carriage to come forward. You can hear that in my voice. That's pretty easy. I want you to think more about rounding through the lower back, especially as the carriage returns towards the stopper. So small lift of the abdominals the whole time, hollowing out the abdomen like a greyhound belly. Pushing the knees forward. Keep trying to round through your lower back. And one more time. And then bring both hands to the side. You're side bending, so you're letting one side of your waist be shorter. You're in a side bend. And round your back up towards the ceiling as much as you can. Same idea of movement, that it's coming from the hip joints, from your psoas and hip flexors. Trying to round your back up towards the ceiling might feel a little heavier. Stay in the cat back, that round spine the whole time. You're not coming out of it to return, especially not when you return. Don't pull from your arms, you're moving at your hip joint. So flex at the hip joint. I should see a a smaller angle or more acute angle and a more obtuse angle at the front of the hip. Should be hip flexion and extension, hip flexion and extension. Stay in the round back. Yeah, Grace, stay rounded, cat back, as much as you can. Yeah, perfect. And then take the hands over to the other side, rounding your back up towards the ceiling, pressing your knees forward, rounding the spine, changing the angle at the front of the hip. Should feel like you're working more oblique. Last 3. And last 1. And return, sit back towards your heels, stretch back. And then let's try with the same spring tension you already have. So you're gonna come up to kneeling, put one foot out on the rail. You are in this wide position because one knee is against the shoulder rest and one leg is way over at the rail. We'll talk about options if that's not working for you. Hinge forward at this, or lunge forward from the back hip, and then pull the knee underneath you to make yourself get taller and more lifted. I would say 3/4 spring or 1 spring will work for everybody. So we're trying to change the front hip joint. You could do this all day and just kind of sit back with your butt. I want you to feel like you're trying to pull your pelvis up towards vertical as the knee comes underneath you. So it's not just flexion, but it's also a lengthening through the lower spine. Yeah. Carrie, see if you can do more of the movement from the leg on the carriage and less pulling from the front leg. So the front leg isn't really changing. You might just need to start with your foot a little closer to you. I would say that my carriage is moving maybe 2-3 inches at the most. If you can move a lot more than that, either add spring tension or get your pelvis more vertical. So lots of you are on an angle with your torso and pelvis. Trying to get you vertical because we're trying to get to the psoas muscle, which is your hip flexor. Yeah, nice, Anita. Whatever you just changed, I love it. And then add rotation towards the standing leg as you pull the knee underneath you. Rotate towards the front leg, return. Rotate towards the front leg. One more. And then return, bring that leg back down, bring the other leg out onto the rail, and start with just figuring out that hip joint and that lift to vertical. Back hip is flexing and extending, and you're trying to lift up, get taller through the spine. So if you don't like the width of your legs right now, you could put the platform over the rails and it would get your legs a little bit more in line with your sits bones, but it brings your foot up a little higher. So it might increase the likelihood of gripping in this front hip, but feel free to try it if you're needing to change the position. Yeah, good. Add the rotation of the upper body, rotating towards and center off as the carriage returns. Doesn't need to be a huge movement of the carriage. Pull, return, and pull and return. Two more. And last one. And then return. Bring both knees back to the carriage. You might want to drop it a quarter spring to 3/4 or a half. And put your hands out on the rails, both on one side. Take them really far away from you. You're in a side bend. Now, instead of changing the hip joint, I want you to change the waist. So you shorten one side of your waist to pull the carriage forward, and then you return. So it's coming from the arms and the waist. Shorten or side bend more, like you're trying to bring your shoulder towards your hip. Should feel quite different than what we did before. Keep your hips in the middle, so your hips aren't sitting back or shifting off center as you go. pull. Should feel like your obliques are working. Of course, play around with your spring tension. Somewhere between 1.5. Well, 1/2 and 1 is a better way to say that. 1.5 would be really a lot of tension. Try to change your side bend to pull. Return. Change the side bend to pull. Return one more time on the side. And return. Take your hands across to the other rail. And side bending towards the side you're pulling on. So you're bringing that shoulder to the hip. Pelvis is staying in the middle. You're trying to not sit back into the heels more than you already are. Pull and return. And pull and return. Three more. And then come back to the center. Once you get back to the center, put one hand on each rail. Start in neutral and just round your back under and pull the carriage forward just 4 times, lengthening back out to neutral each time, moving from the hip joint and return, just centering everything back off, feeling the middle of your spine, scooping up towards the ceiling. And then you can return, come off of there. You can try the spring tension you currently have and then go from there. Put one hand on the shoulder rest and stand inside the rails. Just use your hands so you don't trip yourself on the ropes. And put both hands on the shoulder rest. Come down into a squat. If you're on a lower reformer, it just means your hands will be lower. You've got to get down low. So if you're on a high reformer, get down low so you're more like our friends on the low reformers. Good. Instead of being a round back, lengthen your spine. Yeah. And get your butt to sit down. Good. Take both hands to one side. Round your back to pull. And lengthen to return. So curl the pelvis under. Get your butt down. Some of you, your butt is higher than your head. Grace, get down. Get down. Yes. And then try not to stand up straighter to pull. So you're curling the pelvis under. Curl the pelvis, lengthen through the pelvis. Curl the pelvis. Mine's a half spring, feels really light, but I feel tons of work in my legs and my core to move. Curl and return one more time. Curl and lengthen to return. Take your hands to the other side, round your back. Think of mostly it's coming from the pelvis. So you're kind of sticking your tail feathers out and then curling them under and then sticking them out and curling them under, lengthening and curl. Yeah, do less bending of the elbows to move the carriage and more movement from the pelvis and just hanging on to the shoulder rest. 3, 2, stay low with your butt, and 1, and return. Put your hands on the shoulder rests, pelvis over the feet. Bend your elbows and just widen your elbows to extend your upper back and lower your chest a little bit. And then push the carriage away and round your back up. So my carriage isn't moving. I'm just thinking about extending by bending, opening up my sits bones, kind of fanning the sits bones open, pulling my hands slightly apart and bending the elbows to extend the upper back, looking forward, and then pressing down into the shoulder rest, pressing through the feet to round up. And you can bend your knees a little bit if that helps you to extend your spine, and then straighten them as you flex your spine. One more time. And rounding your back up. Last time, you're gonna sit down into your squat, one hand on each shoulder rest, sit as low as you can, and just gentle pull. It's not very heavy, so don't smash it into your knees. Small pull, and then release one hand. You can put it wherever you want, just a gentle pull and return. Gentle pull and return. The free hand can reach forward, and you can add rotation if you like. So rotate towards the free arm. Your body's not going up and down, just rotating. You can also experiment with other movements of your arm. I like to go up and over the top. Feels like I get more opening, flexing my spine a little bit, but whatever you can coordinate. One more time. And then return, start with the basic, pulling and return. Pull and return. Yeah, free hand can rotate, open. Should feel light so that you can get a full range. If you want to go up and over the top, feel free to add that. Just 2 more of whatever you're doing. And then return. Keep one hand on the shoulder rest as you step out of there. And come to sitting cross-legged or kneeling facing the side, your choice. Hold on to the strap that's more behind you. So the one from the back further behind you, we're gonna spine twist. So rotate your upper body. Allow the strap coming from behind to pull you into more rotation towards the pulleys. Nice. Trying to twist from the waist, keeping both sides of the waist the same length. Three more. And then take the same strap in the outside hand, the one closer to the foot bar. Let your body start rotated towards the pulley, and then you're gonna rotate away from the pulley. The rope will have to touch you at some point. If that bothers you, then switch straps and don't add the rotation. Both would have to happen. Rotate and rotate towards the pulley. And rotate away and rotate towards. And 4. Elbow leads. Let your head and your upper body move. Last one. And then return. Put that strap back down. Grab the strap that's now more in front of you, so the other one. Awesome. And take it in the outside hand. Good. Press your elbow out to the side. Be as wide across the collarbones as you can. If you need it to be lighter, start by scooching in towards the shoulder rest. And then you're just going to try your tricep pressing the arm out. 6. So you're leaving the height of the arm the same. 5, 4, 3. If it's getting too hard, assist with the other hand. 2. Last one. And then return. Good. Put that strap back down. Switch to 1 or 1 1/4. 1 1/4 will give you more support, a little bit easier on the shoulder. Kneel with your knees up against the shoulder rest and bring your hand to your foot bar, shoulder away from your ear. Press the carriage out, open between your shoulders, and then pull back in. Yeah. Try to not let your hips get kind of lifted, that if the carriage comes all the way in and you can't start in a straight long line, then you might need to adjust your settings if you're really tall, or just don't come all the way in, although that means you start from a less stable place, which isn't ideal, but as you press out, you're not slightly shifting the hips off your axis. Yeah, good. If it's too hard on the shoulder or your shoulder's lifting up towards your ear, make the springs heavier. Find that alignment first. That's better. Yeah, nice, Anne. Then once you get the carriage all the way back in, keep it in, lift the arm up, thread the needle, trying to keep your hips where they are more or less, underneath the armpit, reach back up to the ceiling, then add that in. So push out, pull yourself back in. Once you're in, thread under, trying to keep the hips as much as they can where they are. And one more time, press out, pull back in, and thread under. And then sit down. Keep both knees stacked on top of each other against the shoulder rest. One spring is probably good for everybody. Hand on the foot bar, other hands on the side of the carriage. Lengthen the spine to lean out. It's kind of a variation on mermaid. Then head goes up and over into a big curve. So you're trying to bring your head towards your knees. Lengthen and side bend. Let the carriage push you into a side bend. And pressing out to both sides of the waist the same length. Lift up and over. Yeah, nice. One more time. Lengthening out and lift into your side bend. Good. Add an additional spring so the carriage can't move around very much. Put your feet near the shoulder rest. They can, if your hips are tighter, go to the outside of the shoulder rest. If your hips are less tight, go to the inside. So we don't have that platform back there. Just remember that. Reach your arms forward, round back towards the foot bar. Roll over the foot bar. Press your hips up as far as it's comfortable. Don't scare me or yourself. Bring your hips back down. Your feet can slide back out away from you. Yeah, so you can do the version we did earlier. You just have to be in control. So do what we did earlier where you just circle around if there's any fear going on. If you feel pretty comfortable, then you can push through the legs to lift the hips up further to extend the spine more. But you have to feel confident, mindful. Yeah, you definitely don't want the bar to be against like the upper shoulder area. It needs to be between the shoulder blades, bra strap area. You won't have the support you need. And you probably will need to slide the feet in and out a little bit. Yeah, so like as I come up, I slide my feet forward. As I roll back, I pull them towards me a little so that they're underneath me. And then bring yourself forward over your legs, straighten your legs out as much as you can. Just flex over your legs and then do a little pulse. Your arms can be anywhere you want. Just stretching the back of the body open. Little pulse and 4, 3, and 2. Last one. And come all the way back in. We're gonna go to kneeling, facing the second side. So switch to whichever springs you were using for the beginning of our side kneeling. Half spring, 3/4 spring. Grab the strap that's behind you once you come up to kneeling, holding the strap in the hand closer to the foot bar and rotating your torso as you move. Exhaling. Lift yourself up and around. Allow the strap coming from behind you to pull you further into rotation than you otherwise would get to go. Pull yourself up and around. Up and around to rotate. And 2 more. Keep lifting through your waist, pushing down through the shins if you're kneeling. And return. So using the strap still from behind, elbow leads, go out into that high diagonal, bend your arm, let your torso rotate back towards the pulleys. So rotate away from the pulleys towards the foot bar, rotate towards the pulleys. Do whatever you want with the other arm. rotating and return, and rotating and return. Three, two, last one here. And then set that strap down. Switch to the other strap. You can scooch in towards the shoulder rest mindfully if you need. Press your elbow out to the side, hold your elbow there, and then just extend and bend the elbow. 6, 5, trying to keep the height of the elbow the same. 4, it doesn't have to be perfectly the same height as the shoulder. Use your fingertips to assist the rope if there's a moment that's just a little too heavy. One more. And last. Good. And then we can put the straps back on the shoulder rests. Switch to 1 or 1 1/4 springs for a star prep. So knees against the shoulder rest area, lean over and find one long line. Push the carriage out, pull back in. As you do this a couple times, trying to keep your hips in one long line. If you can see your computer, you might be able to see your own image and use that like a mirror to help you figure out where straight is. Yeah, exactly. Good. Draw the shoulder down like that wine bottle opener feeling as you come back in, so you're not letting your shoulder hike up and it send you into a side bend. And then from here, keep the carriage in, reach the top arm up, thread the needle under, rotate your upper body like you're looking under your armpit, open back out to the side, push out and pull back in and thread under, open up and press out, pull back in and thread under, open, press out and come back in. Awesome. Sitting all the way down on the carriage, your knees stacked still. Lighten your springs a little to 1 red spring. Hand on the foot bar. The hand closer to the pulleys is somewhere on the side of the carriage. Push the carriage out, lengthen through both sides of the waist, and then allow the carriage to lift you up and over into a side bend. Lengthen through your waist and lift up and over. And lengthen through your head like you're a Las Vegas water feature. Lots of water shooting out the top of your head. And up and over. 2 more. Lean out, lift up and over, and lean out, and lift up and over. Good. Come to kneeling, facing towards your springs, and you can put the 2 red springs on. Take the platform and put it on the edge of the carriage closer to the springs, from side to side, so short direction. And then kneel on there. You could use padding too if you prefer, if you've got knee stuff going on. So knee stretches, but I want to do this with the knees a little elevated here. This is always an option. You're welcome to add this platform. Round your back. 2/3 of your weight is back, 1/3 forward. Bend your elbows. So try to get your body back so your face, maybe your forehead's over the foot bar, but your whole chest and shoulders are not. If you need to adjust your settings, you can. Round your back. You won't be as close to your heels. That's kind of the point. You will be a little more lifted. Push out, pull in. Push, pull, push, pull. You've got kind of sensitive knees or tight quads, this might be a good option for you. And it should feel like your knees want to almost hover off. Round your back a little more there, Anita. Yeah, good, Dana. Try to keep your body from moving forward and back. 1 more. And then return. Lengthen the spine out. from tail to head, and then flex your spine and lengthen from tail to head out, and flex your spine one more time. Lengthen out, and then flex your spine. Same thing again, round back knee stretches. If your knees feel like they want to float off the platform, let them. That's our hovering knee stretches we've been working on. Yeah, let them float. Good, Carrie. Round your back a little more if you can. Cat back. I know, it's hard. Good. And then return. Excellent. So then we're going to take the platform off of here. We're going to get our box out and put the foot bar down. Box on the long way. Make sure you'll be able to get the straps off the shoulder rests. And start with 3/4 or 1 red spring, arms pulling straps, whatever you normally use. Without getting the straps off to start, we're gonna lay our whole thigh down, get on the box, and take the hands forward on the rails, legs lengthened out behind you. Start to wrap your fingers around the side of the rails. Start to gently pull yourself forward, allowing the elbows to bend as much as necessary to pull your heart through the center and extend the upper spine, and then lengthen back out just to neutral. So you're pulling, you're using that sliding, that gentle V down the back of the shoulder blades to help you send your heart forward and come into extension. Pull up on the low abdominals, bend the elbows a little, lift the upper spine, and lengthen back. Just go to neutral, so don't drop your head down into the well. Lengthen to neutral. Yes, and extend your upper back, just slightly flattening the curve of the upper spine. And return. One more time. Lengthening and return. So that's the same extension we're trying to get as we do arms pulling straps. So grab your straps, pull up onto the ropes, but now you're adding a lot more load, a lot more lever length. So try to get that same amount of movement. Let's stay in going from neutral today into extension. So pulling the arms down, lifting, extend, and then stop when your arms kind of keep going forward and pull you into flexion. So stop in neutral and lift to extend and lengthen to neutral, and pulling down, lifting to extend and neutral. And 2 more like this, nice and simple. Keep the legs reaching out behind you. Then press the arms back, hold back in the extension. Bend your elbows like tricep press. As the arms go forward, let yourself lengthen back out to neutral. So your arms press back straight, it pulls you up into extension. You bend your elbows, slowing the machine with the back of the upper arm triceps, and then hit your neutral. So it's like the wheels of a train. Pull back, bend, and lengthen to neutral. You can add flexion over the box here if you want. So you go from flexion through neutral to extension. Hold the extension as you bend the arms, and then return to flexion. Lengthening. And get longer the whole time. Pulling down, lifting yourself up. And reverse it if you can. So you start by bringing yourself into extension and a tricep press. Extend the arms to straight. Reach the straight arms back down to flex forward. Bend the elbows, extend the elbows, lengthen back down. Bending the elbows along the side, extend them, and then lengthen down. Smooth it out. If it's a little too heavy, hold closer to the metal clips. If it's a little too light, move your hands up the ropes a little. Good. Nice, everyone. Awesome, Robbie. Last one. And return. Good. You can put your straps back on the shoulder rest or on the floor, on the hooks, wherever you'd like to put them. And we're going to come up to standing. We're going to put the box down here at the end of the reformer. And we're going to switch to one red spring. And then put the platform over the springs, like for side splits, because that's where we're going to start here. So once you get your one red spring platform over up against the wood, carefully step on the platform first and then the carriage. Find the connection of your outer hips, push your arms and legs apart, and come back in. I'd like you to alternate between a squat and straight arms and legs opening and closing. However you can coordinate that. You could stop the carriage before you get all the way in to do your squat, or bring it in and then push out again to do the squat. Yeah, nice. Try to stay nice and tall. So the squat, the carriage is away from the stopper and not moving. This side split, the carriage is moving the whole time. And then do 2 of each. Press out, pull in, press out, pull in, and down in your squat. Stand up, down in your squat. Stand up, and 3, press out, and pull in, and all the way out. All the way in. One more time. All the way out. Almost all the way in to go into your squats for 3, 2, okay, hold the carriage still. 1, and last set, pressing out for 4, and in, and 3, straight legs, 2, straight legs the whole time. Last one, straight legs, all the way out, all the way in, then squatting for 4 squats, down and up. The carriage is not moving. You're holding it still. One more time, stay down in your squat. Do whatever you like with the arms, pumping the carriage leg out and in, push, pull. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one. Bring the carriage back in and stand up. Good. Okay, let's just turn towards let's do the other side actually. It'll be more simple. So starting with your feet, splitting the gap, press out and in, and then go into a squat. Just one side split, one squat. One side split and one squat. One side split and one squat. One more time like that. One side split and one squat. Then we do 2 side splits. Press out, come all the way in with straight arms and legs. Press out again, come all the way in and down and up in your squat. Down and up, and again, press out 1 side split, 2 side splits, and 3, come almost all the way in and go down, 3 and 2, and last one, come back up 4 times, press out, pull it in, and 2, nice everyone, and 3, and 4, and each time in between each squat, try to get all the way up to vertical. 3, 2, and last one, stay down in your squat, pumping the carriage leg out and in. Push, pull. Six, 5, last one, and come all the way back in. Good. Step 1 foot off and then the other. Find your straps. We only have 1 red spring on there, so this is not going to be the pleasurable, enjoyable version of feet in straps, but lay on your back and put your feet in the straps. It's light, so it's more about the work of your core. Reach your legs out to a diagonal, take them into turnout. Bend your knees in and just bend and straighten the legs a couple times in your frog position. So bending in, heels come all the way together, diamond shape, extend to a V, diamond and V. And then see if you can make your legs open a little bit further so you feel a little bit more lengthening. And then once the legs are straight in that V, push your legs down to your start position, do the whole thing. Bend into a frog diamond, open to a V, press as low as you can stabilize. Bend in, extend the legs to a V, press down. You can do this in neutral or imprint, you decide. If it's not working for you in terms of the core, the torso, then feel free to sit up and add more spring tension. V, press to the diagonal. Bend into the diamond, open to a V, press the legs together. Hopefully you feel some inner thighs working here. Press the legs together, bend in, open to the V, press together, last one, bend in, open to the V, press the legs back together. Then lift the legs, keeping turned out up towards the ceiling. As far as you can keep your sacrum down and press the legs down as low as you can keep from arching your lower back. Lifting up and connect the abs and go down. Then take this into your leg circles so your legs go up as far as they can. Keep the support for the lower back as the legs go around, squeeze them all the way together. Up the middle, around, and up. And you can use your hands on your abdomen to help you monitor what's going on with your lower back. You should feel like the distance between your lower back and the carriage isn't changing. One more time. And then reverse your circles out and around, up to the ceiling, press down the center. Out and around, up and down the center. 4 more. Keeping the knees straight the whole time. And last one. Awesome. And then bend your legs in, hold on to the metal clip area. Happy baby kind of pose, rock a little side to side, flexing your lower back, just kind of tipping it or pulling the knees in towards your armpits, whatever feels comfortable to you. And then we're going to take the straps off the feet, get rid of the strap that's further away from the camera, keep the one that's closer to the camera, put the same hand as the strap is coming from in that loop. The other hand is going to come across it and overlap it. Bring your legs up to tabletop, and you're going to press yourself up and across into rotation, bringing your hands down across the outside of the thigh, and then lift back up. You can bring the arms a little to the center if you like, and across the diagonal of the legs and center. If you want to add the other leg extending, you can. So you'd be always going over the bent leg. We're only going one direction. Otherwise, the rope will hit you in the head. And exhale across and return and exhale across. Ginge, if you have the right strap, go over your right legs. If you're using the strap closer to the camera, go over the leg to the side of the leg that's closer to the camera. Yeah. See if that helps. Nice. Last 2. And last one. And then return. You can set your feet down for a second as you switch to the other strap. So you'll have the strap further from the camera. The arm further from the camera goes in first. The other one goes on top of it. The legs come up to tabletop. You press your arms to the outside of the legs further away from the camera. So sneak them behind your legs and then lift back up. And up and across, slide ribs to hips. Of course, you can do this without flexing up. It's just you won't have much room to move. So I would say add the leg extending. If you're keeping the head down, it'll probably help you to make it a little more challenging. Leg is extending if you like, or leg staying in tabletop. Four more. And then return. You can set the strap down and roll off to the side of the carriage. If you're on a low reformer, you won't need this box down here. Sorry, I should have said that earlier. One red spring is probably good. And if you have a flex band, flex band. So let me adjust this a little bit so you can see me more. So stand on the box, put the band underneath the foot that's closer to the camera. So it's just under 1 foot. Cross the band over and put the opposite hand, opposite end of the band in your hands and stand up tall. So you're like this, you're crossed. Yeah? Okay. So if you're on a low reformer, you don't need the box that I'm standing on. Then you're gonna find your foot coming back to the carriage. If you're having trouble balancing, which I seem to be right this second, use the band to help you. You're gonna start by bending the front leg and pushing into the band and then returning. If you feel like your hip flexors won't open enough and you're on a high reformer or a low reformer, you could also add the platform and stand on the platform. Yeah. So pushing into your lunge and return, and push into your lunge and return. All your weight's really in the front leg. You're finding your balance. The more you offset your feet, so your feet aren't right in front of each other, the easier this will be to balance. Use the band to help you balance. If you don't have a band, use a foam roller or a wall if there's a wall nearby, or a really stable chair. You can go out as far as you can maintain your balance. Good, I'm just watching for a minute here. Good, nice, Grace. Yeah, awesome. Then push yourself into that lunge. Stay, hold with the arms and just pump the back leg. So the back leg is bending and straightening. Bend and straighten. Doesn't have to be very big. We're just challenging our balance here. Push, pull. 4, 3, 2, and last one. And then stand back up and step forward. Put the band under the other foot. Cross it over. Put your foot maybe on the wooden platform and then back on the carriage if that helps you to get organized. And start with pushing into the band as you lunge, opening the back hip. Yeah. Press and return. Back leg is staying straight as possible. The front leg is the one bending. Your body's staying over the front leg, so your body's not drifting back over the springs. The more you push into the band, the more it kind of helps you like a tightrope walker's pull. Bend and straighten. And bend the front leg, lunge, and lift yourself back up. This is a new position for us, so we'll keep adding to this gradually. One more time, push out, hold that lunge, bend and straighten the back leg. pumping. Good. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand all the way back up, step off of the box, you can get rid of the band, and bring the foot bar all the way back up. Come to standing at the side, like you're gonna do side splits. I think if you're on a high reformer, you may need to stand on the platform. If you're on a low one, you probably don't. So push the back leg out, both legs straight as possible, push out and pull back in. Both legs as straight as possible, push out. And as you come in, start to lift the front heel. Lift the front heel. And we're gonna do a little bit of flying today for our last few minutes. I'm just adjusting so you can see my feet more. So both legs are straight, press out, lift the heel to come in. It's okay if you don't come all the way in. And then you can start to lift the whole leg. Push out, lift, and lift. Lots of hip flexor work to lift that leg. If you want, you could bend the knee into the chest, set it down. Bend it into the chest, round the spine. Round it. One more of whatever you're doing, either lifting the heel, lifting the whole foot, or bending the knee and coming back in. Awesome. And then if you're using a platform, take that around to the other side. Okay, so we start on the second side. Legs are pretty straight. You push back and come in with straight legs. It's okay if the carriage doesn't come all the way in. Push out and then start to lift the heel of the front leg as the carriage comes in. And then you can play around with sweeping that front foot forward as the carriage comes in. Got to use the back glutes, keeping them firm. And you're allowed to lift your hips, to lift your foot. Yeah, if you added the knee tucking into the chest and rounding your spine, then add that on this side, rounding the knee up. Push out, round the knee up. See if you can round your back and think of the knee lifting from you rounding and curling your spine. One more. And then coming all the way back in. Our last thing is our long stretch. So headrest up, 2 red springs. You can go lighter if you want it to be more abs and less arms. Find your plank position, hands on the foot bar, long line. Either stay and hold or push the shape out and pull it back in. Staying long through the spine. Awesome. See if you can think imprint a little so that you're a little more neutral. Yeah. Better. Grace and Ginge, try not to let your pelvis kind of start to sink or swoop down. Yes. So use your imprint so much it pulls you up into the plank. Good. Last one. And then you can set your knees down. You're all done. If you want to do a totally peaceful, gentle thigh stretch standing in the safety of the ground, go for it. Otherwise, you're all done. Thank you so much. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.